cursed dolls, dastardly demons, and one hell of a take on Night at the Museum. As much as there is to love about the supernatural adventures of Ed and Lorraine Warren, it's hard to ignore these 10 things in the Conjuring universe that make no sense. The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, was met with a mixed reception. While some critics and audiences were thrilled to see the famed Warrens, earnestly played by Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson, return to the big screen, others fear the series had run its course. One of its principal faults is that The Devil Made Me Do It, as sequels often do, opts to go bigger at the expense of what made the series so successful in the first place. But the movie's most egregious sin is the inconsistent use of Lorraine Warren's clairvoyance. Lorraine has made use of her power several times during the series, whether exploring family photos or sensing where a demon might strike. In The Devil Made Me Do It, Lorraine is inexplicably unaware that the house where she recently exorcised a demon has a witch's totem buried beneath it. There's some mumbo-jumbo about how the curse is powerful enough to dodge Lorraine's sixth sense, but it seems like something she should have sensed. This is a sin that applies in equal measure to 4 movies in the Conjuring universe. The real-life Annabelle doll is an allegedly cursed Raggedy Ann doll. Keeping a cursed object around is certainly never a good idea, and the Annabelle doll of the Conjuring cinematic universe is a ghastly porcelain nightmare. The doll has no redeeming qualities, even when measured against the admittedly low standards held by doll connoisseurs.
I mean, this thing is really freaking me out. I feel like it's gonna come to life in the middle of the night and kill me.
Yet, the Conjuring universe repeatedly wants audiences to believe that a normal person would actually want this monstrosity in their home. Nurses in The Conjuring sought it out before their haunting, and the doll maker in creation made it for his daughter, not realizing that, cursed or not, Annabelle is the very essence of terror. Worse still, given how much Ed and Lorraine Warren talk about how evil the doll is, it never really makes sense that they would keep it in their house. Encased in glass from an old chapel, the evil is ostensibly contained. Although after the doll causes all hell to break loose in their own home, one wonders why they wouldn't at least consider an alternative. The Curse of La Llorona is the lowest rated installment, and we use the term installment loosely here, in the Conjuring franchise. The entry was plagued by controversy even before release, most of which was on account of whitewashing a legend central to Mexican culture. While La Llorona, played by Marisol Ramirez, is incredibly realized, the scares are inconsistent and tame. The worst of it, though, is just how contrived its setup is to begin with. Patricia Alvarez's children are targeted and killed by La Llorona, an event social services dismiss as neglect and abuse. It's bad enough that it's never fully explained why Alvarez's children were targeted in the first place. Yet, after her children's deaths, Patricia blames Anna, the social worker who first took her children away. She summons La Llorona and has the creature target Anna and her children so that Anna might feel the same pain she does. The entire thing is predicated on Patricia's reluctance to admit that locking children in a closet on account of a ghost isn't something that a social worker would reasonably believe. Worse, Anna is never outright hostile or incredulous. She genuinely wants to help Patricia figure out what's going on. Love heals all. Well, it doesn't. But if the ending to The Conjuring is to be believed, all that the exorcist, Regan McNeil, needed was some love and perspective. At the end of The Conjuring, Lorraine realizes that Bathsheba, the specter haunting a rural Rhode Island farmhouse, has been possessing mothers on her land and making them kill their children. Another possession is in full swing when Carolyn absconds with one of her daughters, Christine, intent on sacrificing her to Satan. Ed must expel Bathsheba from Carolyn and begins a full-born exorcism. It's for naught, though, as Carolyn quickly escapes and chases after her other daughter, April, armed with a pair of scissors that she intends to use in the worst possible way. Just as Carolyn catches April and brandishes the shears, Lorraine grabs hold of Carolyn. She begs Carolyn to remember the good times and to break Bathsheba's hold from within. In moments, it works, and love alone, not Bibles or rituals or Latin incantations, frees Carolyn's soul. It's a poignant and sweet moment, but also radically undermines everything that came before. The climax of Annabelle is arguably the most egregious in the entire series. Midway through, housewife Mia Form is sufficiently plagued by the haunted Annabelle doll. Desperate for help, she solicits the assistance of Evelyn, a neighbor and the proprietor of a local bookstore. Evelyn's character leans heavily into the super problematic magical Negro stereotype. Replete with knowledge of demonology, curses, and possession, Evelyn's primary role seems to be delivering exposition to the white protagonists.
What do they want?
A soul. And they won't stop until they get one.
That, though, isn't even the worst of it. In the end, the demon intends on stealing Mia's newborn daughter and entices Mia into giving up her soul. Mia is initially willing to sacrifice herself for her daughter. However, as she plans to step out the window of her apartment with the Annabelle doll in her hands, Evelyn arrives. Feeling guilty about the death of her daughter years prior, Evelyn decides to jump in Mia's place, sacrificing both her life and eternal soul for a woman she barely knows. Intended as a profound act of sacrifice, the entire thing feels scuzzy. The racial politics are misplaced, the act itself is arbitrary, and it's incredibly predictable. Casting Vera Farmiga's sister Thaisa Farmiga in The Nun was an inspired choice, and the movie at least feels sufficiently dangerous. The characters face real threats as they explore an abandoned, haunted abbey plagued by the terrifying Valak, who first appeared in The Conjuring 2. In order to defeat Valak, the portal from which she was released must be sealed with the literal blood of Christ. And wouldn't you know, a vial of Christ's blood is being held in the abbey, and the portal is only a short walk away. It's bad enough that Valak, having offed the entire abbey, is curiously ineffective at stopping them. Considerably more sinful, Farmiga's sister Irene is successful. The rift is sealed and Valak is dramatically swept into a vortex and sealed beneath the abbey. Cue the happy ending. Only it isn't happy. There's a final twist showing a subsequent possession by Valak, rendering the entire thing moot. It makes no sense. The Conjuring 2 is arguably better than the original. Though it's more fantastical, the scares are more frequent and meaner. The Conjuring 2 is a haunted house movie with a legacy as enduring as its ghosts. It's unfortunate that the core conflict is so arbitrary. The Conjuring 2 stars Frances O'Connor as a Cockney mother of three who lives in a haunted house largely paid for by the British government. When she claims that the house is haunted, the Warrens are called in. Initially, the Warrens are unconvinced, although Lorraine makes a recurrent note of her inability to sense anything awry. It culminates in a staged incident caught on tape, one that compels the Warrens to leave. Later, of course, Lorraine learns that the nun villain Valak had blocked her clairvoyance, but otherworldly sense or not, it feels out of character for Ed and Lorraine to be so quick to dismiss someone's claims. Annabelle creation is very scary. The scares are unconventional for the series, with director David F. Sandberg making use of a diverse array of possessed haunts. One of the most effective scenes involves orphan Carol escaping to a barn. After some of the girls lock themselves in a car, they are assailed by a possessed scarecrow and scatter. In the barn, Carol catches sight of the scarecrow again and is rightly petrified. Then the lights hanging from the ceiling slowly unscrew themselves as a demon manifests in the corner. Rather than flee, Carol proceeds to fix the lights. The scarecrow itself has no business being in there. The only plausible explanation is demonic activity, yet Carol decides that it's safer to stay and play electrician than it is to bolt right out the door. It's sheer lunacy. Annabelle Comes Home, while not the scariest entry in the Conjuring cinematic universe, might very well be the most fun. A cross between Annabelle and Night at the Museum, it was enormously successful and stars McKenna Grace as the Warrens' daughter, Judy. When the Warrens head out of town, they hire local teenager Mary Ellen to babysit. That alone makes little sense. With a house full of accursed objects, it's reasonable to assume that the Warrens might have someone other than a slightly older child on deck. Teenagers do as teenagers do, though, and shortly after arriving, Mary Ellen's friend Daniela crashes the party, intent on gaining access to the artifact room in hopes of contacting her late father. In doing so, she unleashes Annabelle, who empowers the Warrens' entire collection of cursed artifacts.
It's the doll, Ed. It's a beacon for other spirits.
Annabelle Comes Home has a frightening ferryman, werewolves, and homicidal bridal gowns. Though none of it is taken especially seriously, it's hard to move past the cursed elephant in the room. With it being this easy to unleash a demonic horde, why run the risk of getting a babysitter at all? The demons in the Conjuring universe often have the basest of desires. They're often there to wreak havoc, menace some rural folk, and just barely miss out on their chance at securing a human soul. As with all cinematic supernatural showdowns, however, the rules guiding their behavior are arbitrary and unclear. These demons attack and chase, yet almost never bother to kill the people who stand in their way. They're clearly capable of it. Annabelle Creation and The Nun, for instance, have considerably more deaths than the other entries in the franchise. Yet, even though Annabelle is keen on ripping her own mother in half, she's content to let nuns and orphan teenagers go free. If the Conjuring franchise has any glaring flaw, it's that the stakes are never clear. While that was fine for the first few entries, after 8 movies, the supernatural rules need to have some degree of consistency. Unfortunately, there simply isn't any. In cleansing Bathsheba, Valak, haunted board games, and monstrous wolves, the Conjuring universe might have inadvertently exercised logic as well. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more SlashFilm videos about your favorite movies are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.